Hello, my Stampin' friends. Today I want to share a card with the Pop-Up Petals stamp set. This is a new online exclusive stamp set, and it's got some fun little elements that I really wanted to share with you. And most of those elements are found in the dies, but the stamp set itself is really cute. So it's a really sweet little stamp set with these vases and flowers, and you can kind of build a little arrangement, and it's just adorable. But one of the things that is a surprise comes in the dies, and that is, whoops, these here. So these two dies make a pop-up element on the middle of your card, and this here is another little added detail for a flap, like maybe you're making a box, and this would be like the flap. So super cute. Let me show you what I mean. Here it is. So this is the outside, and then when you open it, you've got this cute little pop-up box with the flaps, which I think is really adorable. You could do it with crumb cake and make it like a cardboard box. You can put a little animal coming out of there like my cat. But the flowers are really sweet. This sentiment is not part of it, but I have a friend who moved away. So it says, "Happy birthday, miss you bunches," is perfect for her. So that's what I'm going to use today, but it does have some really cute sentiments inside, and grateful for your friendship is a good one. You make my life better just by being in it. So it's really cute. You get me, and that's for our crafter friends, right? We all know that we get each other when we're talking about these fun little crafts. So this sentiment with the miss you bunches is from, I think I put it away. What did I do with it? Sweet jar of sweets. Let me see if I have it laying around. There it is, Sweet Jar. Happy birthday, miss you bunches. So that's where this is from. Okay. Now let's go ahead and make this card together, and I'll give you some tips on lining this up nicely and getting it to work without any hiccups. Okay, here we go. We made this at Stamp Camp, and so I have a leftover kit here, and we're gonna put that together. All right, so I'm using this plaid, which I think is a really fun paper pack. It's called Timeless Plaid. It's an online exclusive. It's got all different colors of plaids, and I think plaids are great this time of year. It's fall, feeling cozy, so I really liked this plaid. And there's two sides, and I just used one side as the background, and then I went ahead and just flipped it over and used this as an accent. So those go together. And then with the other little scrap left over from the sheet, I cut out these little flaps. They cut out in one die, but it gives you two flaps. Okay. All right, so now my card base is a standard size. So it's an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, which I've cut in half at 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4. So that's your base. And then I use the designer series paper, and I'm gonna go ahead and stick it down so I don't lose my pieces. And this doesn't have any stamping involved on it, so I can go ahead and glue it down and not worry about it. And I like to do that so there's not as many pieces flying around my desk. So I'm going to do it with the plaid up, and the checker will be my accent pattern. So I'm going to stick that down like so. So that's my base. And then I've got another sheet, and that's because the pop-up element needs another piece of paper to pop up, so I don't want to do that in the base. So this is cut a little differently. I wanted there to be a border on all sizes, so I cut it at 5 by 8, and then I scored it at 4. I believe that's right. Let me make sure. 5 by 8. Yes, so I've got it scored at 4. 5 by 8, scored at 4. And then some other little accent pieces. I showed you this one. This is a scrap. It's about 3/4 of an inch. Yeah. And then this is a piece of Very Vanilla, and I'm going to use this as my mat for my images. So this is just a little scrap piece, and it's 3 1/4 by, I think, 4 1/4. But what I'm going to do with it is cut it out with a die, so it's going to end up smaller. Now if you don't have this particular die that I have, you can leave it as a rectangle, or you can do some other little fun dies that you might have. And the one that I'm using is called Just a Note, and I love this die set. It's tiny. I didn't even get the stamp set went with it. there is a stamp set that kind of pairs with it, but I just loved this die set. So cute, little compact, isn't that cute? And it has this notebook paper that has this kind of torn look to it. And I thought that was just darling. And I like the little paper clips, and this is like a heart paper clip. Here's a binder clip, one of those little, look, it looks like the art journal clip that's sitting right on my desk right there. So I've got all these fun little heart element stars, arrows. This is great for scrapbooking, which I like to do, so this is a really fun way to put like your journaling on a little notebook paper. Super cute. I love it. We're going to use this one. This is, I think, might be a last chance. I'm not sure, but it's adorable. You should check it out. It's not that expensive. Okay, so I'm going to use this scrap, and I'm going to go ahead and stick it right down on this piece, and then we're going to cut it out. And I did what I didn't want to do. I remember I said I wanted to use the checker as the accent, and I've already glued it down, so we can't do that. What I meant is to use the checker on this side so that the two are not the same. So, okay, there's your lesson on what not to do. I'm going to go with it. You know, the recipient doesn't know my intention, so they're not going to know that I messed up. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut this out like that. Now, sometimes I don't like to cut out pieces that are already glued together because it starts to get too thick, and then you might not have an easy time cutting them out. But this is designer paper on top of Very Vanilla, and I know that it'll work just fine. So I do want to make sure I have it on straight so my plaid's not crooked. And how cute is that? You could even rough these up if you wanted to. Okay, now while my machine is here, I'm going to go ahead and do the pop-up. Okay, so we're using this piece, and then there's two different sizes. I'm going to use the larger, longer one. So the important thing here is you can see I had some washi tape on here because I wanted to make sure it didn't move. Sometimes at stamp camp, people are fast and they feel like they need to go fast, and then things move around. So I put some washi tape down. Okay, so I want this to be towards the bottom of the card. So I'm going to make sure that those points are on the score line. So remember, I scored at 4 inches, and then this die cuts the parts that need to be cut, which is the top and bottom, but it also scores the other parts. So you've got that whole ease of pop-up by having the score lines already done in there for you. So yes, you could do that with your own, you know, scoring blades and an X-Acto knife or cutting blade. But this does it all at once for you. Oops, I shouldn't have had it half under like that, because then I just made it move, which is why I had the washi tape at stamp camp. Okay, let's see if I can do it without washi tape. Okay, so then it does the whole scoring and cutting all in one pass, and it just makes life easy. Plus then you get the cute other little elements, the flowers and the vase. So there, see how I'm saying it scores and cuts, and everything is so much easier, and I really like that. Now a cute little thing I saw, or I thought of, is I saw someone did both of them. The other size that's slightly smaller can go on top, so it's like stacked presents, and then you put a bow on the top, which is in my brain to do at another time. Another thing you can do is stack several of them and spell letters like baby, so it could be like stacked blocks, like little kids' toy. So there's lots of fun things you can do with this one. And our CEO, Sarah Douglas, shared a card that she made with this set, and she used it on, I would say a Z fold, but it was more than a Z. Maybe it was a W, because it went up and down and up and down. And she used multiples of these, and it was super cute. So that's, I think that was on her Facebook page. You can check out Sarah Douglas's Facebook page. That's the Stampin' Up CEO. Okay, so here is our inside. So I have a few things I want to stamp on here before I glue it down, and I like to do all my stamping first in case I make a mistake. So inside I wanted to put that Miss You bunches. So let's go ahead and do that, and we've got some stamping to do on here too, and then I'll give you tips on how to glue this into your card without any problems. All right, so let me get my stamping done. This is Early Espresso ink, and I'm going to do Miss You bunches kind of off to the side. And then I'm going to do that butterfly from the same stamp set. It has this cute little butterfly in it, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to do a few of them. Maybe one on each side of the word. And maybe some over here just so this side of the card's not so plain. There. Okay, so that's my stamping on the inside. I am going to color. Now, one thing I want to say is I stamped on cloud cover, but that's okay because it's such a pale color that I'm going to go ahead and use my markers right on top, and it will change the color of the marker a little bit. So I'm going to use crushed curry, and so it won't be as vibrant because it's on top of cloud cover, but this is a deep enough color that it looks really cute, and it's kind of fall-like. So as like you can see, it's a little darker, but it still reads yellow, and you know, butterflies, the yellow ones are not super vibrantly yellow anyway. They're more brown yellow, or some of them are probably vibrant yellow, but the ones by my house tend to be more orange. Okay, so that's my yellow, and then I'm going to go ahead on another one, and I'm going to use, I could use cloud cover, which is the paper, because when you do tone on tone, you know, it'll look darker. So here, I'll do this one in cloud cover, and it does still show, even though it's the same color, because it's just bringing in another level of depth of color, so it's the same color but deeper. So I'm going to do that. And then I think I'll do this one in Lost Lagoon. That's a color that's going to be brought in on the vase on the front, so I might as well use it again on the inside as well. It's almost the same as cloud cover. Now I'm using, you can tell I'm using Stampin' Up markers, and depending upon when you're watching this video, these might be gone because this has been discontinued by Stampin' Up. They used to do a marker in every single Stampin' Up color, and I've always bought them my whole 15 years as a demonstrator. Actually, it's closer to 20 now, years as a demonstrator. Because I love them, and I think they're great. They discontinued them because, you know, that's just, I think it's just, you know, cost savings. We have the Stampin' Blends now, and the blends sell really well, so people tend to buy them, and that's these bigger markers, and they're great. I do love the Stampin' Blends. These are an alcohol-based marker, and they do fun things because there's a light and a dark, and you can blend the colors, and they're just beautiful. But when you're doing a small little area like this where you're not going to have blending of color so much, to me, it's easier to just grab these, and so I love these so much. So I'm going to be sad when I can't get the newer colors in this marker type. But right now you can, if you're watching this in November 2025, you can still get the markers. So if you want, they're on sale because they're in the clearance area under last chance items, and they're marked down. So I would grab them while you can. They're really nice. There's a brush tip, and then this tip is smaller, and you can use either one for small images like this. Like I'm going to do the center of the butterfly with pecan pie, and it's just a nice little marker, so I love them. And like I said, I'm going to miss not having the new colors. You know, every year we get 5 new colors for a limited time, and I'm going to miss not having these for the next go round. They last a really long time, so I know I'm going to have my base colors, my core colors for a long time. Those change over time too, so eventually I will end up not having a color for everything, and I am sad by that. I will buy the blends, of course. I do have them now, but these are my go-to when I'm doing small images like that. So anyway, if it's in your budget, go take a look at the Stampin' Up markers in the last chance area because they are great. I love them. Another good option though, if it's past that, if we're past that, they're gone. If you're watching this later, are our watercolor pencils. Those are great as well. I love them, and they come in not every Stampin' Up color, but a lot of Stampin' Up colors. So you can get some really good. There is a crushed curry, for example. There is not these, but there is a pecan pie. But you can change some of your colors or get something close. All right, so here's how we're going to go. Oh, I need to do this stamping, so let me do that before I go too far. All right, so I need this flower, I'm using, instead of black all the time, I try to use deeper colors that are not always black. So here I'm using Early Espresso as my base, and I'm going to stamp this floral pack here, and then I'm going to stamp the vase, and I'm going to do that one in Lost Lagoon. Or maybe I'll do it. No, I'm gonna go Lost Lagoon. The plaid has a lot of different tones in it, and I kind of thought I could go many ways with that. All right, so there we go. So I've got my vase and my flowers. I also need a flower on here. Now on the front of the card, you could use a die cut one, or you could stamp straight onto the vanilla. And I decided, I've got a lot of die cutting and cutting, so at Stamp Camp, I wanted to eliminate as much cutting. So I've got 15 people all trying to cut, so sometimes it's easier to just use the stamp. So I had them cut this out first to kind of eyeball where the vase goes, but I'm going to just do it. I'm going to go for it. I'm just going to put it down and hope I did well and not regret that. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and stamp a butterfly. There. Okay, so I'm done with my Early Espresso. Oh no, I need the happy birthday. Okay, so in the little envelope, there should have been a tiny little scrap of cloud cover. Let's see if I can find it on my desk. There we go. And I'm going to do the happy birthday again in the Early Espresso. Standing up for this one. Do you stand up when you're trying to line up something? There we go. All right, so that's my happy birthday. I'm a little bit off. You know what? I'm going to flip it and do it again. 2 sides to every sheet of paper, right? See if I'm happier with that one. I am. Okay, glad I did it again. All right, so now I'm done with Early Espresso. The stamp set comes with filler stamps, and what I mean by filler is it fills in the area. So see, I've got this outline, and then this is my filler, and here's some filler. So it's kind of fun. And I'm going to use those. Again, I'm going to use pecan pie. Where is my filler? Here it is. And I'm going to do it once on this one. Still standing here. Oops, upside down. Look how perfect. Photopolymer is so good for lining things up, isn't it? Okay, and then I'm going to use crushed curry for my petal filler. All right, which side is up here? I think I got it on the first try. I was a little bit off on that one. That's okay. Okay, better on that one. All right, so I've got that. And then I want to add my leaves. Now they do not, I thought it was interesting, they do not have a filler for this leaf or this leaf. There is on this one, but there's not on these two. I thought that was interesting. So I'm going to grab my markers again. Now again, if you don't have these, the Stampin' Blend markers are great, or the pencils. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my old olive. Oops, missed a little tiny spot right there. I keep missing it. And this one. And I think it'll be easier actually to use this side. I love that there's 2 sides, so I've got another option. I can probably do it faster with the littler side. All right, now what color to do the butterfly? I think I'm gonna do the color of the vase, which was Lost Lagoon. All right, so let's do the butterfly. And the butterfly center, which is Pecan Pie. Okay, so now I have to cut these two out, and I will do that off camera because you've seen me cut, and my cutting machine fits better on the other side of my desk. So I'm gonna go do that real quick. Okay, now all my pieces are done. I'm gonna go ahead and glue this down. So this is the trick part. You can put your finger like through here, so as you're folding, this part comes out while this part goes in. So just give it a nice little push out with your finger, and then you can go ahead and press down. And then grab your bone folder and get them all really nicely creased so that they open and close perfectly every time. There. Okay, super cute. Now when you put it on the inside of your card, I'll show you a little trick for that. You're going to want to keep it folded in half and then add your adhesive . Now, put the non-glued side down so that you have movement, and then get it right in that crease, right where your score line is. Making sure that it's straight. And then fold over. And then you can flip it and go ahead and add your adhesive. And that ensures that it's in there exactly where you want it to be and that it opens and closes nicely. Okay, so for the outside, I'm going to go ahead and stick my little note piece down with some dimensionals. Oh, I got ink on there. You see that? All right, you know what we're gonna do to make that okay? I'm gonna rough up these. I'm just gonna make them look like they were torn right out of a notebook. I didn't do that on the other one, so you can see the difference and decide what you like. I kind of sometimes like to really get them raggedy. There. You're gonna have to tell me which one you prefer. And then, so there's my wrong plaid again. That's okay, I'm getting over it. I'm gonna stick my vase down so that the flower is right in there. That turned out nicely. I'm gonna grab my happy birthday. Now this is up on a different level. So I've got 1 level, 2 level, base level. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a dimensional here, and that'll bring it up to the same level as the vase. Now you could choose to put 2 dimensionals here to kind of bring it up higher. I'm not going to bother. I'm going to go ahead and stick it down here. I know that that is close enough to the end, and then I'm going to add a little dab, or you could use, you know what I did? I put it on the wrong side. Remember how I stamped both sides? Oh yeah, I'm making mistakes. I used the side that I didn't want to use. Isn't that funny how when you're, you know, when I'm doing a video, I make all the errors. When I do it at home, it turns out great. Okay, so now I just wanted to put a little bow on the outside, and I'm using the very end of my baker's twine. There's like a neutrals pack, and it has white, black, kind of like a crumb cakey color, and then this ivory. And that hopefully is enough to do one more bow. I have another roll, so if it's not, I can go with another roll, but I was just trying to use up this last bit. I think it's going to be the perfect size. Look at that. And I'm going to stick that down with a glue dot. And I think we're complete. How about that? So I hope that you enjoyed this little card. I think it's sweet. And tell me what you think of the roughed edges. Maybe I didn't rough them up enough. I don't know. I think this is going to go right here. There we go. Adorable. Maybe I need to rough it up a little more. Here. Okay, there it is, my little card. So here's my non-roughed up edge. And my roughed up edge. Anyway, super cute little card. Oh, I didn't put this. Oh my goodness, I didn't put the flowers inside. How crazy. See, I told you, when I make a video, that's when I make all the errors. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead. I folded them in half along the score line. Oh my goodness. And then I'm gonna add adhesive just to one side. And then I've got my flower, which I'm gonna stick on with a glue dot. Now the glue dot needs to go on the front. Normally we're so used to putting our glue dots on the back, but we're gonna put it on the front, right at the very bottom. Okay, so these little guys are gonna go in. I'm gonna hold them for just a second and kind of count. 1, 2, 3. There we go. This glue sets up really fast, so it's really nice actually. You've got a second to play, or a few seconds to move it around if you need to, and then it sets and it's great. All right, so that is the little flaps on the box, which I think are just a darling detail, and I missed it. So then we're gonna put our flower. Now you can't put your flower in the middle because it's gonna crease, right? So you have to make sure you put it right on the inside of that score line, and that way it'll open up and close. You have to make sure you don't go too far to the side because again, you don't want it to hit. So it just barely hits. Now, I tried putting one over here, and that was too big. Now you could put a second one and have it stick on the bottom, like on the back. That looks kind of cute. So then you've got 2, you know, so it's kind of in the background. But if you stick it on the box itself, they catch each other, and that is a problem. So you could stick it on the background. I like that actually. And then there's a taller flower, this rose, I think that looks like a rose, or this little maybe tulip, and you can put a bunch of those in there separately and kind of put some in the back, some on the front, and have them move. But because this is a little bit wider, it didn't work as nicely with having 2. So maybe I will stick that little guy down, although I do need, yeah, let's stick him down. And that way it's even more bunches. Cute, cute. Make sure I don't get it past that score line. Adorable. Such a cute card. So anyway, this is a new online exclusives, November 2025. Pop-Up Petals. This is the new stamp cases and die cases. They're the same. So take a look at those too. What do you think of the new cases? I kind of like the streamlinedness of them, the thinness. I will miss the sides not having the pictures, you know how they used to have the images on the side, but I think I'll have them in a little flip. I'll go through them like flip, like kind of like a Rolodex, and they'll be alphabetized and I'll be able to find them pretty easily. So I will miss that picture on the spine, but I will love the space savings on my shelf. Trade-offs, right? Okay, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.